Today, we're going to recap a 2006 movie titled Silent Hill. But before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The film begins in the middle of the night with Rose urgently leaving her home to search for her adopted daughter, Sharon. As Rose calls for Sharon, her husband, Christopher, joins her in the frantic search. They follow a river that leads them to dangerous cliffs with a waterfall. There, they see Sharon, who seems to be asleep at the edge of the cliff. From Sharon's perspective, the cliff turns into a dark, endless void with a ghostly girl calling from within. As Sharon gets closer to the edge, Rose rushes to stop her. Rose successfully pulls Sharon back, but the girl continues to cry, signaling Sharon's alarming condition. Christopher arrives and reassures them, promising everything will be okay. 2 years later, Rose and Sharon are enjoying a peaceful moment in a sunlit meadow. Rose tells Sharon they are going to Silent Hill, as Sharon has been sleepwalking and frequently mentioning the town. Sharon, however, says she has no memory of it. Rose insists that this trip is important to help Sharon regain her memory. They set off, passing a sign that hints at divine judgment. Unaware of their destination, Christopher becomes frustrated. After looking through Rose's browsing history, he discovers they are headed to Silent Hill, a ghost town where the population disappeared after a tragic underground fire 30 years ago. As night falls, Rose and Sharon stop at a gas station. While filling up, Rose checks on Sharon and finds a disturbing drawing of a burning place in her sketchbook. When Rose shows the drawing to Sharon, the girl denies drawing it, visibly disturbed by the image. Sharon's cries draw the attention of a police officer, Miss Officer, who approaches Sharon while Rose pays for the gas. Sharon, cautious of strangers, refuses to speak, but Miss Officer reassures her. Rose asks the cashier for directions to Silent Hill, but he explains that the road to the town no longer exists. When Rose tries to pay with her card, it's declined, so she pays with cash. She calls Christopher to tell him they are heading to Silent Hill. He protests, claiming Sharon needs medical care, but Rose disagrees, believing medication won't fix the issue. She is determined to take Sharon to Silent Hill, hoping to uncover the truth behind Sharon's strange condition, which she believes is linked to the town. While driving along mountain roads, Rose is pulled over by Miss Officer near a sign indicating Silent Hill's proximity. Rose speeds off, trying to evade the officer. Suddenly, a strange girl steps into the road, causing Rose to crash the car. The next morning, Rose wakes up to find Sharon missing, and the area is covered in thick ash falling from the sky. Rose sets out to find Sharon, and soon finds a sign marking her arrival in Silent Hill. As she walks through the abandoned streets, she spots a girl resembling Sharon running through town. Rose chases her until they reach a basement where a loud siren sounds, signaling the arrival of darkness. Using a lighter to explore, Rose stumbles upon a mutilated man in a hazmat suit, sending her into a panic. As she tries to escape, she is confronted by grotesque baby zombies. Just as they close in on her, they vanish. The next day, Rose continues her search for Sharon and meets a homeless woman who claims they both lost their children. When the homeless woman tries to steal a photo of Sharon, Rose quickly leaves and returns to her car, where she finds a drawing of a burning school. Rose leaves a voicemail for Christopher telling him she's lost Sharon, but the message is distorted. Miss Officer arrives and Rose begins to suspect her involvement in Sharon's disappearance. Meanwhile, Christopher, on his way to Silent Hill, listens to the distorted voicemail and struggles to understand it. At the town gate, he is stopped by a local officer, and the two agree to work together to find Rose and Miss Officer. In Silent Hill, Rose and Miss Officer attempt to leave but find the road is blocked. While searching for a way out, a monstrous creature appears, spewing hot ash at Miss Officer and burning her suit. Miss Officer manages to kill the creature, allowing Rose to escape. Rose heads toward the local school, hoping to find Sharon. Once inside, she cautiously surveys her surroundings and notices people in hazmat suits patrolling the area. She follows a young girl through a classroom and up a staircase, eventually reaching a bathroom where she discovers another mutilated body bound by barbed wire. As she pulls an object from the body's mouth, the hazmat-suited figures find her. Rose locks herself in a bathroom stall, but they try to break in just in time as the sounds of bird chirping signal the arrival of darkness. The hazmat figures retreat to shelter. As darkness falls, the siren blares again, signaling the start of nightmarish events. The environment begins to deteriorate, and the mutilated body begins to move, crawling toward Rose. She races through the hallways, narrowly avoiding large cockroaches feasting on zombified figures. She eventually reaches a burning pit and crosses a pathway to the other side, where she finds the young girl, Elisa, drawing frantically. When Elisa looks up at Rose, she falls out of a window and the terrifying Slaughterman appears, wielding a large sword. Rose quickly flees to another building. Meanwhile, Christopher and the officer arrive at the school but cannot see Rose. Christopher senses her presence, possibly drawn to her scent. It becomes clear that Rose is trapped in an alternate dimension, while they remain in the real world, unable to see or reach her. Exhausted, Rose is surrounded by cockroaches until Miss Officer arrives and pulls her into a safe room. As they lock the door, the Slaughterman and other creatures try to break in, but suddenly the monsters and nightmarish environment disappear as daylight returns. It turns out that when the sun rises, everything returns to normal, while the horrors re-emerge at night to continue searching for Sharon. Rose and Miss Officer follow a clue from the object Rose found earlier, leading them to a hotel. There, they discover a woman throwing stones at Miss Homeless. The woman explains that Miss Homeless is an outcast who has already lost her daughter. Other survivors have taken children to the church. Miss Officer then finds a disturbing drawing in the locker room, prompting them to investigate further. Meanwhile, Christopher, desperate to find Rose and Sharon, sneaks into the archives at night to learn more about their disappearance. He uncovers a police case involving a girl named Elisa, who was burned alive at the hotel. Rose and her group continue searching for the room. As they explore, they find a painting depicting the burning of a witch, revealing that the town's people were witch hunters who believed burning witches could prevent an impending apocalypse. Rose realizes that room 111 is hidden behind the painting. Upon entering, they find the room completely burned. Suddenly, Elisa appears to Rose, who chases her until they reach a pit, where Elisa shows herself burning before disappearing. A bird flies out of the pit, signaling that darkness is approaching. Rose, Miss Officer, and the other woman quickly head to the cult's church for safety. The church remains untouched during the night, serving as a refuge from the encroaching darkness. Upon arrival, they see a crowd of cult followers entering. Miss Homeless warns them not to trust the cult, as the cultists are already down. As they enter the church, the woman from earlier returns to throw stones at Miss Homeless, only for the Slaughterman to appear behind her and tear her in half. Inside the church, the cultists curse Rose and Miss Officer, accusing them of being witches. Miss Officer silences them with her final bullet. The cult leader enters and instructs the congregation to pray. After the prayer, Rose begs the leader to help her find Sharon. The leader reveals that Rose must face the demon to rescue Sharon, but warns her of the risks. Determined, Rose insists on confronting the demon. The group heads to the hospital, where the cult members in hazmat suits guide her. At the hospital, the cult leader shows her the demon's location on the map. Just as Rose is about to enter the elevator, the cult leader realizes that Rose is Sharon's mother and instructs the fanatics to capture her, believing Sharon to be a witch. Miss Officer intervenes, helping Rose escape by the elevator while leaving herself behind to fend off the fanatics. Rose descends into the basement where a voice reveals the truth about Silent Hill. The voice explains that the town believed Elisa was a witch, leading to her hatred and rejection. Elisa's mother, Miss Homeless, was cast out after giving birth to Elisa out of wedlock. The cult leader convinced her to purify Elisa after she was raped by the school janitor, leading to Elisa being burned in a ritual. However, the fire spread uncontrollably, causing destruction. Elisa survived, but her body was terribly burned. Miss Homeless regretted her decision after seeing her daughter's suffering, but Elisa, seeking revenge, was aided by a demon. Her rage split her soul, with one half becoming the demon Elisa, and the other half becoming Sharon, who was later adopted by Rose and Christopher. The demon Elisa, who has been roaming the town, warns Rose that the cult leader plans to burn Sharon. The demon then possesses Rose's body, allowing her to enter the church and stop the cult from performing the ritual. Meanwhile, the cult members find and take Sharon from Miss Homeless's apartment. The cult leader discovers where Sharon has been hiding and orders a large bonfire to be prepared for the purification ritual. They first set Miss Officer on fire, mocking her as she slowly burns. After her death, the cult prepares to burn Sharon, tying her to a ladder. Rose arrives horrified by the scene and declares that the cult members are damned for trying to burn an innocent child. She accuses the cult leader of being a sinner, prompting the leader to stab her in anger. As Rose's blood spills, the church decays, signaling the arrival of the demon. A pit opens and Elisa, bound in barbed wire, emerges. The cultists are terrified as Elisa attacks them, ripping the cult leader apart with barbed wire. Rose stabs one of the cult members and the others try to retaliate, but the barbed wire executes them, one by one. Miss Homeless walks through the aftermath surrounded by the bodies of slain cultists. In a desperate attempt to shield Sharon, Rose tries to close her eyes to protect her from the carnage, but Sharon opens them, seeing the demon Elisa. The next day, Rose and Sharon wake up, seemingly free from the horrors, but Sharon now behaves strangely, suggesting that Elisa and Sharon have merged into one being. They leave the church and head home, but when they arrive, the surroundings are still covered in fog, and they are alone. It becomes clear that Rose and Sharon may still be trapped in the alternate dimension, while Christopher waits for them in the real world. And that's how the movie ends.